Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you about aspect. It's a grammatical structure that tells us whether a state or an event is completed or whether it is or was continuing. We have two aspects in the English language. They are the perfect aspect, and we use that to indicate the relevance of some past action at the present moment, as in, she has been there once. We form the perfect aspect with the auxiliary have and the ed participle of the main verb. She has been there once means that this very present moment she's been there once. She might go there again, and then we can use the perfect aspect. The relevance of being there carries to the present moment. The other aspect is the progressive, also known as continuous. That we use to describe an action that is in progress at a particular, often limited time. We form the progressive aspect with the auxiliary be and the in participle of the main verb. As in, he's sleeping. Here we have the auxiliary be and the in form of the main verb. Or, who was driving the car? Both of these verb forms tell us that these are actions that took place over a certain period of time. If a verb form is lacking aspect, it is said to have simple aspect. If you remember back to when we talked about the sequence of tenses, we talked about the simple present and the simple past. We use the term simple because there is no aspect present in those forms. Okay, now let's have a look at the perfect aspect in more detail. As said before, perfect aspect describes past actions which have effects that continue up to the present time. We can convey different kind of meanings with the perfect aspect, and the first one is state present perfect. We use that to describe an unbroken state that still holds through, as in, I have always hated spinach. We have perfect aspect there, because we can say that I still hate spinach. If we have the simple past here, it would mean that the action or state was completed, that it's not valid anymore, that you don't hate spinach or I don't hate spinach anymore. But the perfect aspect says that it still holds through. Another meaning is event present perfect. We can use that as in there has been an accident to describe events that took place shortly before the present moment. Or we can use it to refer to more remote events in the past, but still have a meaning at the present moment. So the meaning has to carry on with the present moment. Only then we can use the aspect, the perfect aspect. Habitual present perfect refers to things that have happened or occurred frequently, repeatedly. As in, I've played football since I was 6. It's an action that occurred frequently and I still play football. Therefore, I can use the perfect aspect here. This is quite often used with dynamic verbs. Verbs that describe movement, for example. Do you notice that if you give a specific time in the past, you're more likely to use the simple past. If you say that you played football last week, you're more likely to use the simple past there. We can put the perfect in the past tense as well, forming past perfect. There we describe actions that are completed at or before a given time in the past. As in, I had seen her only once before I ran into them in the library. Here we talk about something that took place before something else in the past. If we put this on a timeline, this is the time of the utterance, and this is what happened before this. So I saw her once there, and then I ran into them in the library, but they are now both in the past. There we can have the past perfect. Okay, let's move on to the progressive. And again, as mentioned before, it describes an action that is in progress at a particular, often limited time. We form that with the auxiliary be and the ing participle of the main verb. And the tense of the auxiliary be tells us whether the action is or was in progress. It can also combine with other modals as well. We don't normally use the progressive with stated verbs, but there is such a thing as state progressive. It's rare and it refers to the ongoing, non-permanent state. As in, Mark was living in London. Live is a stated verb. Hate is a stated verb. Be is a stated verb. We don't normally put it in the progressive, but if we do, it describes a status of a limited duration, as in this example. Mark was living in London, he was staying there for a while. Or, you are being silly. It describes an exception to the normal status. There we can have a state progressive, although it's very rare. Event progressive, used with dynamic verbs referring to events that have duration and are not completed. As in, I was writing an essay last night. If we leave the perfect aspect out and have the simple part there, I wrote an essay last night, it will mean that you finished writing it. Using the progressive means that it's not finished. And finally, habitual progressive. We use it to refer to actions that occur frequently over a limited period of time. As in, he's playing the guitar in a local band. And again, if we have a simple past or the simple present, he plays the guitar in a local band, it will mean permanence. It would imply permanence. But this means that he's probably substituting for someone or playing the guitar there for a short time. Okay, now both of these aspects can combine. So we can have perfect, progressive. It combines both the meanings and both the forms. So we need to have the auxiliary have and the ed participle of the auxiliary be, and then the in participle of the main verb. We'll have a few examples in a minute so you get the hang of it. Present perfect progressive is used to describe a situation in progress with limited duration leading up to the present moment. As in, I have been writing a novel. Here again, the implication is that it's not finished. This conveys a possibility of incompleteness. The novel is not finished. Therefore, you have the in participle, and you're still doing it. You have the perfect aspect there as well. So both perfect and progressive aspects are present in this way. Or we can put it into past tense, forming past perfect progressive. There we describe a situation in progress with limited duration leading up to a certain point in the past. In this one, it leads up to the present, but with past progressive, it leads up to another time in the past. As in, John had been traveling around the world when he heard the news. Here, traveling continued up to the point when he heard the news. And now they're both in the past, and there we can have a past perfect progressive formed with the past tense of the auxiliary have, and then the ed participle of the auxiliary be, and the ing participle of the main verb. Okay, now be sure to read those pages in your grammar section to get a hang of this aspect. Stay tuned and see you next time.